Who owns the two aircraft which have been acquired by BVI Airways to fly between Beef Island and Miami? Responding to questions posed in the House of Assembly by Leader of the Opposition Andrew Foy on May 11, Premier and Finance Minister Dr. D. Orlando Smith says Colchester Aviation, which is a principal of BVI Airways, owns the two aircraft through another wholly owned subsidiary, Raptor Aviation, which leases the two Aviaro RJ100 jets.
BVI Airways is the registered owner of the aircraft in the BVI, according to the BVI registry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand now. So BVI Airways, let me make sure I'm clear, is the registered owner for the aircrafts in the BVI. But outside the BVI, they're not the registered owner of the aircrafts. That's what you're saying?
What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that they do two different concepts. The registered owner is a person who controls the property. That's how it goes, Mr. A.G. And the other, the outside owner, is the person who has the right to the property. So it's two different ownerships.
True, Chairman and Speaker. So technically, they don't own the airline. They just lease them and go along as ownership.
Well, the term is called a registered owner.
The Premier and Finance Minister also confirms that BVI Airways is earning revenue in the interim by leasing at least one of its jets to an airline in Haiti, Sunrise Airways.
Let me understand this as clearly as I could, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, is the Premier saying that all money was used to bring a business that went out of business, owing us, back into business, and now is using our monies to make money, and we still have to pay them and waive fees for them to operate for us?
What I'm saying, Madam Speaker, that in the agreement which we do have, that the investment we made was what they call a subsidy. And as in most countries which provide subsidies are basically money that is given to subsidize the run of the aircraft. However, Madam Speaker, the agreement that we also have also indicates that once the airline is up and running, that the subsidy that we were given will be returned once they are running successfully to the full to the government of the BVI.
Now, regarding that addendum, which came to light because of questioning by the opposition leader during the last sitting of the House, Dr. Smith says the change to the initial agreement signed with BVI Airways in 2015 was made on June 7, 2016, and explained why it was necessary.
Due to there being multiple signing parties, the document was signed by the parties at different times during the month of June 2016. Madam Speaker, in summary, the addendum agreement acknowledges that BVI government were not able to establish a line of credit, indicates that the parties agreed to establish an escrow agreement, outlines the conditions under which escrow is established, and confirms the establishment of the escrow satisfies the requirements. Madam Speaker, the signatories to the amendment are the same as those of the original agreement. And the signatories, Madam Speaker, are Bruce Bradley, Jerry Willoughby, Scott Weissman, and myself as representative of the government of Virgin Islands.
When pressed on why the initial contract to release the $7 million over 3 years to BVI Airways was amended to allow disbursement in less than 1 year, this was the Premier's explanation.
Conditions for the release of funds to BVI Airways were primarily based on timelines that were adjusted by mutual agreement as conditions on the ground changed. These were related to the extended anticipated time for getting approvals from the regulator and various challenges faced in the acquisition of the aircraft required to provide the service. Madam Speaker, the establishment of escrow account was set up to allow for the arrangement for the transfer of the funds invested in BVI Airways by the government of the Virgin Islands. Madam Speaker, BVI was not required to pay any money into the escrow account. The establishment of escrow was necessitated because the line of credit as required in the original agreement was not available.
Now, other information which came to light during the Q&A session. According to the Premier, the breakdown of how the $7 million subsidy in BVI Airways was spent, as well as the total assets consisting of private equity, cannot be disclosed as they are commercially sensitive material which may be prejudicial to the airline's ongoing deliberations. Dr. Smith also conceded that 10% of the airline shares must be offered to the public. But regarding the question of residency status of the shareholders of BVI Airways, the Premier disclosed that he neglected to include that query in the research for his responses. Meanwhile, a business case study on the viability of the BVI Airways venture was done by Oregon-based company Sixel, which included an assessment of the cost of operations and fare levels, among other factors, at a cost of $22,000, an expense shared by BVI Airways and the government. However, Premier Smith states that a public disclosure of the document would be prejudicial. BVI Airways last month received certification from the U.S. Department of Transportation and now awaits the go-ahead from the Federal Aviation Authority and the Transportation Security Administration.